Can you hear me?
There we go. Thank you.
Are you still hearing music? Nope. Nope. How about now? Okay, you should be good to go.
And I just need to ask everybody to please mute if you're not, because we're getting some background conversation. But Chris, are we ready to go into the meeting?
Yes, we are.
Chris?
Yes, we are ready to go.
Gosh. Okay. If you're ready, we'll go ahead and get started. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the Arapahoe County public meeting today, November 24th, 2020. And I'll call the meeting to order. On the call today are Ron Carl, our county attorney, Jolene Sanchez, clerk to the board administrator. And Ms. Sanchez, would you call the roll of the board, please?
Do you see her? No.
Ms. Sanchez, I don't. Hear you. Let me go ahead and Commissioner Conti. Here. Commissioner Baker. Here. Commissioner Jackson. Here. Commissioner Holan.
Here.
Thank you. We have a full board. And Commissioner Holan, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Thank you. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda this morning? Okay, I don't believe we have any modifications to the agenda. I'm not aware of any. This may be, I'm going to go to citizen comment period. And Chris, do we have anyone who would like to speak during the citizen comment period?
We may have, no, we do not have anyone for public comment.
Then we will move on to, we have one really, well, I want to say fun, but not so fun ceremony this morning, and that's the retirement ceremony for Don Clemmy. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Holan if you would read the resolution, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whereas after 15 years of dedicated service to Arapahoe County, Don Clemmy will retire on December 1st, 2020. And whereas Don started his public service career 45 years ago in Michigan, administrating personnel and workforce programs, and whereas he went on to become the Douglas County manager, and in 1987 became the administrator for the 18th Judicial District's Attorney's Office, and whereas in 2005 he became Arapahoe County's Director of Community Resources, also serving as the Interim Director of Facilities and Fleet Management, and briefly overseeing the Commissioner's Office and Communication Services Department. And whereas during Don's tenure, he hired quality managers, experts in their respective fields, whom employed creativity and productivity with excellent staffs to deliver a much admired programs. And whereas he established the Administrative Services Division within the County Resources Department to ensure the county's fiscal stewardship and the department's multiple state, and federal grants. And whereas Don shepherded important judicial services initiatives, guaranteeing public safety through vigilant management of pre-trial community corrections and community service clients, as well as creating the criminal justice planning functions to obtain quality system-level management information. And whereas he built a best-in-class workforce development program, Arapahoe Douglas Works, and continually received recognition for quality service and innovation, and whereas Don led a high-performing weatherization program for Arapahoe and Adams County residents, and whereas he coordinated with Housing Division staff to fund more than 1,000 low-income housing units, providing rental assistance to those in need, whereas Don oversight of the senior resources team helped guarantee quality transportation, home cleaning, and omnibus assistance to older adults, in addition to creating the county's first full-fledged veteran service office. And whereas he partnered with CSU Extension leadership to make programming relevant in a county with rural and urban interests, including launching and managing a successful Arapahoe County Fair. And whereas under his leadership, the Community Resources Department established a culture of service first, developing cutting-edge technologies and award-winning programs. Whereas Don collaborated with the county officers and departments to improve overall service delivery for constituents, partnering organizations, education entities, economic development, businesses, and industry. And whereas Don has provided knowledge and expertise in service to numerous county commissioners, the Workforce Development Board, the CSBG Advisory Council, the Community Corrections Board, and the Cultural Council, the Arapahoe County Housing Authority, and the Aurora Home Board of Directors. And whereas Don is well respected throughout the region, the state, as a tireless public servant, committed to providing unbiased guidance, unparalleled knowledge, and a collaborative spirit and customer-focused attitude in all interactions. And whereas Don is looking forward to relaxing, traveling, spending more time with his family and friends, and most importantly, enjoying his retirement with his wife, Val, 4 children, and 2 grandchildren located in Boston, Mesa, Arizona, Lakewood, and Denver. And whereas Don's presence will be truly missed by many employees, peers, and colleagues throughout the state. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Arapahoe County Board of Commissioners that we officially recognize the contributions of Don Clemmy as a valued employee of Arapahoe County, and whereby declare his future shall prosper as Arapahoe County has prospered under his dedicated service.
The motion made by Commissioner Holan. Do I have a second? I second. Okay, it's seconded by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Well, wow. It's such an impressive resume and a list of accomplishments. Commissioners, would anyone like to add their comments?
Madam Chair, I would just like to add, this is Commissioner Holan.
Go ahead, Commissioner Holan.
I would only personally add that I've had the opportunity to liaison with Don's department for several years, and we, as a result, gained a very strong relationship, working together on many of these projects, focusing in my part on the veterans issue, the Veteran Service Office, and he played a key role in my efforts to establish a Veteran Service Officer in the city of Aurora. And Don's leadership throughout the many areas that he was responsible for probably would require three people to do that in the future. Nonetheless, I am sad to see him leave, but happy that his career has been so wonderfully appreciated by the citizens of Arapahoe County, and his legacy will be one which will be very difficult to follow. But he leaves this department with my greatest admiration and support, and am honored to call him a friend and a fellow administrator in the county of Arapahoe.
Thank you, Commissioner Holland. Anyone else? Madam Chair. Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
This is Mrs. Oak. Sorry, my throat is just really scratchy today. I actually jotted down some notes, so forgive me. But I'm going to start with a quote from A.A. Milne, who, as you may remember, wrote Winnie the Pooh. And he said, how lucky I am to have known someone that makes saying goodbye so hard. And that really expresses how I feel. In a way, it's a personal thing. I want to thank Don for the support and goodwill that he's shown me, as well as others over the years. I learned so much from your leadership, Don. Your managerial and decision-making skills are amazing. I want to thank you for all the support and encouragement you've given me, and again, many others. You'll be remembered, and your presence will continue to have an impact on me and on the county throughout the years to come. It's been said that great leaders always make a difference, and you've made a difference here for sure. Your leadership has directly and indirectly impacted countless lives in the county, in workforce development, justice services, senior and housing departments, veteran services, and weatherization, and so many more. You've made a difference in the lives of people who will never, ever hear about you. And on their behalf, I just want to thank you. And I'm going to close with another famous author, Jack Kerouac. What is that feeling when you're driving away from people and they recede on the plane till you see their specks disappearing? It's the two huge worlds vaulting us, and it's goodbye. But we lean forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies. And so, Don, I wish that you may have blue skies, good health, and joyous adventures. And finally, another quote. It's time to say goodbye, but I think goodbyes are sad, and I'd much rather say hello. Hello to a new adventure. So I wish you and Val and your family many, many years of good health and great adventures. And I'm going to miss you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
I just wanted to say thank you to Don for his many years of service to the county. A lot of the commissioners have expressed a lot of the way I feel as well. And so I'll just say thank you.
Madam Chair, go ahead, Commissioner Conti.
Director Clemmy, it has been an honor and a privilege to work alongside you as you have given incredible guidance and direction to the Community Resources Department. When I stepped onto the board, and one of the things that you were so gracious to do was to take me around and show me all the different aspects that just kept going and going and going and going of all the things that you oversee in the Community Resources Department, the depth and the breadth of which is absolutely amazing. But you have done it with grace. You've done it with great understanding and knowledge. And you've been so gracious to impart that knowledge to us whenever there was any kind of question on any type of issue that that came under your direction. And so I thank you for, from the bottom of my heart, for all that you have done for the county for these many years. And I absolutely echo our wonderful wishes that you would move forward into the next years of your life and receive equal enjoyment to the pleasure that you have brought to us for what it has been to work with you. Thank you.
And Don, this is Nancy Sharp. So coming last, I just echo what everybody else has said, that working with you has been a real pleasure. I think you're just an outstanding person, and you exhibit that in every way over the last 12 years that I've been on the board, and your professionalism, integrity, good spirit, grace, strength, collaboration with all of our other directors to work for the best that we can be in our county and for all of our citizens. And that's not a small task with everything that you have taken on. And then just when Commissioner Holland was reading that resolution, it's a incredible career. And I think we were so fortunate to have you in Arapahoe County to this point, and just want to thank you and wish you the very, very best in your retirement. Have a great time and finally get to relax and enjoy yourself, and Val too, so, and all of your family members. And so I don't know, Kelly, did you sorry about that. Kelly, Kelly Folks, did you want to add anything? And then I'm going to go back to Don.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. I would just like to add on behalf of the Community Resources Department and all the division managers our appreciation and thanks for his many years, his mentorship, coaching, his guidance, and just being a phenomenal director, boss. We will all greatly miss him, and we have learned a ton from him, and he will be very hard, as you all have said, to replace, but we are glad that we were able to have his, again, leadership, mentorship, and coaching over the years. And so, again, on behalf of all the division managers within the Community Resources Department, we thank him and for all of his time. We appreciate everything he's done for us and the community and the department as a whole, and we wish him and his family the best and hope he spends much time with them and relaxing, because he definitely deserves it. So thank you again, Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you, Kelly. Before I get to Don, is there anyone else who would like to speak? This is so difficult not being able to see people, but if there's anyone else to speak, please go ahead, identify yourself, and please go ahead. Okay, I know we're going to have another opportunity to express our thanks and appreciation, but John, why don't you, we'll give you a chance, so please go ahead.
Don, are you muted? Director Clemmy is on, but he might be muted.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can now. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much for this ceremony. It's very rewarding. Just a second. I am having some technical issues here. Just one moment. There. Okay. Joining me today is, far as I know, it's hard to tell who's on the call and who's not, but obviously my lovely wife, Val, here in Golden, my son and daughter in Mesa and Gilbert, Arizona, my stepson and stepdaughter in Denver and Lakewood, and their significant others. And I can't tell, but my brother and his wife might be on up in Newport Beach, California as well. So I'd like to say thanks to the Board of County Commissioners for trusting and employing me and allowing me the flexibility to do my job. Pardon me. By my count, I worked for 12 commissioners in my present job and another 9 to 10 commissioners when I was with the DA's office. Thanks to my colleagues on the executive team. I admire your professionalism. You made the job rewarding and fulfilling, and we accomplished a lot. Thanks to my division managers, present and past, for their expertise and their passion to do the best job possible.
She'll be here in 5 minutes.
You always made me look good. And thanks to the hundreds of employees who have worked for me and who have done their job to the best of their ability to the benefit of the citizens of Arapahoe County. It has been my honor to serve, and I will miss you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, and we will certainly miss you as well. And I think I think that we may have public comment. Is there anyone else, Chris? Well, we're going to have public comment, but anyone else who would like to add their good wishes and best wishes to Don Clemmy at this point, and then we'll go to public comment, back to public comment and the agenda.
Commissioner Sharp, this is Stephanie Music.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
Hi, Don. I just want to wish the best for you and Val and your whole family, and enjoy your retirement because you worked so hard for Arapahoe County. We really appreciate it. So please take care, and we wish you the best.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? Okay. Well, Don, we'll have another chance to, as I said, another chance to express our appreciation. But again, thank you so much. And yeah, you've certainly had a tremendous impact on our county and the people in our county, and we can't thank you enough. So,
thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, we will move back a little bit. I just wanted to make sure, since Ron Carl was not able to, we had some technical difficulties, but are there any modifications to the agenda this morning, Mr. Carl?
No, there are no modifications. Were you able to hear that?
Yes, we were. Thank you.
Great. And did the resolution get adopted for Don? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we did that, and now I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Commissioner Hull and I so move. Second from Commissioner Baker.
I'll second. A motion made by Commissioner Hull and seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. I am going to go back because we were having a few technical issues. Is there, to ask Chris if there's anyone from...
If you are interested in speaking in public comment, could you please hit *3 on your phone and you'll be connected to us? I have no one in the queue right now, but I think we've got a few people who are interested in making a comment. Correct.
We'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve, and that's October 27th, 2020. And we had
Oops, Commissioner? This is Chris. We have a few people who did pop in if we want to go back to that very quickly. Okay. Perfect, thank you.
We have a motion to approve the October 27th, 2020 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner I think it was Commissioner Conti, is that correct?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Holen. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Let me go back to public comment. Chris, is there anyone who would like to?
Yes, we have a few people, starting with Molly Lamar. Molly, you are live with commissioners.
Okay, and Molly, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and address for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Arapahoe County Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to voice our concerns. My name is Molly Lamar. I am an Arapahoe County resident. I live at 5269 South Joliet Way, Inglewood, Colorado 80111. I did want to say thank you to Don Clemmy for his service, and good luck to you. I hope you enjoy your retirement. There are several people on today, and as elected officials, we hope that you will hear us and do something to help us, considering that our businesses and schools have been locked down, and as Coloradans and residents of Arapahoe County, we are struggling. I'm a Colorado native, and I decided to raise our 4 children here, and up until March, they were all receiving an excellent education, Prairie Creek School District. They were all thriving in sports. They are no longer doing that. They are home full-time on remote learning, and we're struggling. So I hope that you will hear everyone today, the businesses in our community. I have several friends who are having to close their doors permanently, not just for, an indefinite amount of time. This isn't fair. We have elected you to represent us and stick up for us, and what's happening to us is unconstitutional. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamar.
And we have Kelly Digby on the line.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I appreciate the time, and I did want to let you know that I do know at the very beginning, Rosalina DeFigiu, Tina Jenkins, Erica Fisher, Misty Job, Laura Shipman, and Michael Fall were all on. We were texting each other to try to get on for public comment. So I'm hoping that those names could be written down and you could reach out to those people because I know they're all still on. But like the previous caller, I too have grown up in Colorado. My husband and I both went through Cherry Creek schools. We still live in Arapahoe County. We moved back to Cherry Hills in hopes that our kids could get a great education and grow up here. And again, starting in March, kids are not able to go to school, and businesses are struggling. And really, other than football right now, sports through high schools are not happening. And we just plead, especially coming into the holidays right now, to our neighbors who own small businesses, that you allow these restaurants to open and allow people to dine in. We're not suggesting by any means that we're mandating that people have to go do stuff, but give people a choice. This is the United States. Allow people the opportunity to go to movies if they want. Allow them to go and dine in if they want. Let's let people make choices that work for their families. We personally think that schools are a very, very safe place, and it just scares me for the future of our education, what we're doing to these kids, the setbacks that they are having versus states that are open and going to school. I would hate to see over the next 10 years what the Colorado kids, ACTs and SAT scores, how those are going to be affected for the next 10 years compared to all these states that are in school, in their seats 5 days a week. So I just plead that we reopen our restaurants, we reopen our schools, allow youth sports to move forward. It's the responsible thing to do.
Yes, we have 5 more callers. Next up, we have Rosalina Lombard. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Rosalina Lombardi Distichu. Too many vowels to put in there. I'm cut off often. I have been a resident in Cherry Hills Village for about 18 years. I'm at 85 Mead Lane, and I am raising 3 kids in this environment, and we are struggling. I want to emphasize and ditto everything Molly said, everything Kelly said about the academics, the sports, how our kids are going to be left behind. But I also want to emphasize the mental wellness of our children come first. As a mother of 3 kids who are both struggling academically and mentally, it is heartbreaking to see that these schools are not open. It's heartbreaking to see their academics are falling apart, and it's heartbreaking to see sports not on the agenda. We need to really balance out what is happening. The safety of our elder citizens and our compromised citizens with COVID is understandable. I unfortunately got COVID in early September. Thank God I got through it just fine. But we can't sacrifice the well-being of the next generation and close everything down. I have various friends within our community who are struggling financially because their businesses are going under. We can't shut down everything, given the numbers increasing in Colorado. I understand the hospitals are being taxed, but let's focus on the wellness of our children, open up our schools, open up our sports, because I know for a fact, after talking to various experts in our community, our wellness for these kids, kindergarten all the way through college, is really impacted. Suicide rates are up. You can't get into a psychiatrist, psychologist, behavioral therapist. They're all booked. We need to take action for the wellness and mental well-being of our children. Thank you for giving me this platform.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This should be Brenda King. Brenda, are you with us? Oops, hang on just a moment. We're getting the mics lined up here. Brenda, go ahead.
Yes, this is Brenda King. I live at 9 Lynn Road. I am happy that my good friends Rosalina Decidu and Kelly Digby also spoke and appreciate the fact that we are mothers raising children, trying to keep them in an environment that is unprecedented in the history of our country. And I want to appeal to you, commissioners, as parents, common patriots, that we cannot allow this type of situation to continue, circumstances to continue that go against our constitutional republic. We need to be able to appeal to you as humanitarians, as patriots,
represent us and make sure that we have a voice. This is not appropriate. It has to stop. And sooner or later, if it's not, you're going to have citizens that are going to protest these methods of closure. I'm appealing to you as humanitarians, not as politicians, but as humanitarians, to please stand with your people. Citizens of the United States, we are a constitutional republic. We are the beacon of freedom around the world. We continue to put these restrictions and mandates and behavior experiments of behavioral control. We will lose who we are as we the people. And this I appeal to you as humanitarians, as citizens of the United States of America. We need to get our children back to school. We need to get people back to work. For this, Commissioners, I appeal to you based upon your humanitarian perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Next up, we have Erica Fisher. Hold on just a minute. Erica, you should be live.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and share my thoughts with you. First of all, my name is Erica Fisher. My address is 1 South Franklin Circle, and I'm in Greenwood Village. I completely agree with all of the people that have spoken before me. And one thing that I really plead with the commissioners to look at as we are being forced to lock down, being forced to not be able to be with our family at the holidays is look at the science. That's one thing that people haven't mentioned previously, is that we keep, everybody keeps saying, we're basing things on science, we're basing things on science, we're basing things on science. Well, the science that I've been shared by epidemiologists, people who know the science, are saying that our citizens ages 70 and under are highly more likely, the percentage varies by age group, that everybody 70 and under is much more likely to die from the flu than to die from coronavirus. So why are we running and running and running away and hiding and being shut down for the vast majority of our population that basically has such an insignificant risk of dying from this? It baffles me. We don't run away from the flu. We don't run away from strep throat. Our population is more susceptible to those than coronavirus. Our kids need to be in school. I can't tell you how many neighbors I see when I'm out walking around the neighborhoods because I'm so bored I can't even see straight, so I just go out on long walks. To Rosalina's point, how many kids are, how many mainstream kids are in therapy and depressed and losing all motivation to even get out of bed and get going in the morning. This has gone on for way too long. There has to be another answer. There has to be a creative way to handle this versus, well, we're just going to shut everything down. Boom, your rights are gone. This is baffling to me. I literally feel like I'm living in a movie. Please, please, please look at the science. Please end these restrictions. My daughter is at school in Boulder. They were 18 to 22-year-olds were restricted from being with each other. Maybe there's a really strong message that's sent to those that are at risk and saying we highly encourage you to remain in shelter, to remain locked down. But those of us that aren't at risk, especially our children, we absolutely deserve to be able to move around as normal citizens. Thank you.
We have 3 more callers. Next up is Douglas Moore. Douglas, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, and it's actually not Doug Moore. It's his wife. But my name on record is Amy Thomas, and I live at 11922 East Lake Circle, and we're in Greenwood Village. And I greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and voice my concerns today, along with all of these other individuals that have come on and spoken up. I feel like we are a very, compassionate family, and certainly appreciate that there are people out there that are at risk and do need to be very careful and cautious. But I just have strong kind of disagreement with how we're approaching this in terms of closing down businesses and schools. I have 2 children that have just started high school, and they're not able to have a normal social experience. They're really kind of struggling academically, and these are 2 kids who typically are so happy and thriving and love learning, and they are just having trouble with this online experience and isolation. It is unhealthy. It's not allowing them to grow and develop and prosper socially. So I want to definitely echo what the other moms have said there. In addition, I would talk about just the devastation that this is creating on small business, people's livelihoods and lives. It's going to have far-reaching effects other than just immediate financial. It creates financial dependency for these people long term, as well as just impacts on, their other social problems. The number of just people who are now depressed, struggling with addiction and suicide, it's frightening. So I would like you to consider all the things that people have said today, and really take that to heart. We are the land of the free, and we need to give people credit for being smart and responsible and making good choices, and still being able to take care of those that are at risk. But I do ask you today to please consider the ramifications and how far-reaching they are of shutting down businesses and schools in the manner that we are. I really hope that you can hear us today and help carry out the will of the people, because we need to get back to living.
Thank you, Ms.
Yep, we have a few more callers. The next one, there is no name, but the last 4 digits, 6565. Go ahead, you're live.
Yes. I believe this is me. My name is Chris Lamar. I live at 5269 South Joliet Way, Englewood, Colorado. And I echo the previous comments relating to this lockdown. I'm going to ask the county commissioners take a leadership role for our citizens, and this is really just related to health. This has there were some comments made about financial crisis, and that leads to a number of things. There are 400 plus deaths due to COVID in Arapahoe County since March. 70% of those deaths are over the age of 70. These are tragic, right? But it's also tragic the unintended consequences related to this lockdown. Depression, particularly for the kids. And I would say I would really want you to take a laser focus on getting these schools back to in person. These kids are hitting depression, anxiety, suicides, We've got a nephew that committed suicide, chemical dependencies, all kinds of health issues that are really going unnoticed. And I'm hearing from one of the commissioners I won't name that responded to a citizen with the position that the citizen was being insensitive to these deaths. That is not the case. That's just a cop-out. That's not a thoughtful response. We care about the folks that have died, absolutely, but there needs to be a different approach. You need to quarantine and keep those folks safe. The elderly, the compromised, the folks with compromised immunity, but you are ignoring all the health issues related to these kids. It is a huge issue. Folks at the end of their lives that could die from COVID or could die from pneumonia and those types of things, those are sad, very sad. They're tragic. But let's not ignore the issues that are going on with kids, the young kids. They got full lives ahead of them. I know countless elderly that think this is crazy. The elderly do not need to go to grocery stores. There are things that we can do to help them out and keep them isolated until a vaccine's given to them. And there's not a lot of thought in this. You got the CDC head that stated absolutely wrong to take K through 12 kids out of school, and it's ignored. It's ignored from our politicians, and I'm hearing from folks like in this county commissioning board that are stating our citizens are insensitive to this, insensitive to these folks that are dying. That's not the case. We can take care of both those subsets of the population, and it's your job to show some leadership on this and get these kids back in school. Thank you.
We have two more callers. This is Jonathan. Go ahead. Last four digits of telephone number 6053.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead and just state your name and address for the record.
My name's Deborah Botten. I live at 12087 Circle. That's in unincorporated Arapahoe, so District 2. I've been here for over 20 years, and a lot of this is going to be what you've already heard, but I think it's important to hear it. I think the issues I want to bring up are directly related to our kids, because most of us moved here because we wanted what was best for our kids. And really, as county commissioners, I think with your remit, you can have the most impact on our children immediately. Every week, I have a daughter at Cherry Creek High, and every week we would get emails from the superintendent telling us that the precautions that they were taking in the schools were working. And despite the fact we had known cases of COVID in those classrooms, it was not spreading through the schools. So I'm not sure why we would think about shutting down one of the safest places we have for the kids. Even before this current all remote learning, the kids were getting less than 50% of their time in class. So, if you think about some classes that don't translate well for remote learning, I have a daughter who's in engineering and physics and ceramics. Two very different courses, but courses that are not going to be very effective learning over a video screen. They need to be hands-on. They need to be doing labs. They need to be working with clay, and they can't do that remotely very effectively. And that's the majority of the students at Creek, right? We wouldn't let our kids sit and watch YouTube or TikTok all day long, and now this is their new learning profile, is to stare at a screen. And echoing what everyone else has said, it's not healthy for them. I think one of the other pieces is the school activities. They're just being decimated. And, for many students, this is how they participate in their community. This is how they get their exercise. This is how they get their social interaction. And if you're shutting those down, we as parents need to find another outlet for our kids. It can be expensive, and not all the parents have the time and the money to do that. In fact, the people who are already getting hit by this pandemic aren't going to have the extra income to go put their children in club sports or drive them an hour away to go participate at a pool somewhere else because the local pools are shut down. And that is just going to bring even more stress to people who are already
being negatively impacted by the pandemic. Personally, I have a 90-year-old father who just turned 90 and he just finished cancer treatment, and I have a senior in high school. And I balance the precautions that we take around our 90-year-old dad with the fact that my daughter needs to have some memories of her senior year. And if we all think back, I mean, those are some of the strongest memories, good and bad, that you may have in your life, and we're taking that away from them. A year ago, we told them, get off your phones, go out, see your friends, and now the only interaction they have is through those phones. I mean, for a generation that is such low risk from this virus, we are taking so much away from them, and it's not right. I feel that you need to trust us as your citizens that we can make informed decisions, not just for our families and ourselves, but for our community, and really do what you can to give our kids a chance at having a normal year. It will never be normal, but a lot closer than it is right now. Again, appreciate the time that you guys have afforded us today, and hopefully you'll take some of this under consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Button.
We have one last caller. The name that appears on the screen is Kate Murphy. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, County Commissioners, to give us this opportunity to voice our concerns in the community of Arapahoe County. I'm a mother of three. I have a college-age daughter who graduated virtually last May from college and now is currently teaching virtually, taking a gap year, applying to medical school, teaching virtually in inner city Chicago, and can't even begin to tell you the impact this has created for those children in particular, given the socioeconomic background of inner city Chicago kids. Then I have a daughter who's in college currently in Virginia, and just the impact that it's had on, the college age kids and coming home, they have not had the experience that it would be a typical experience for a sophomore in college, and I can't even imagine having a freshman in college this year and what those kids are going through, because they, in my opinion, have suffered the most because of their senior year of high school and then freshman year. And then I've got a current freshman in high school here in Arapahoe County, and I feel that the impact this has created on these kids, psychologically, mentally, it's not healthy at all for these kids to be in a lockdown situation, to be kept home from any sort of interaction. It's not healthy, and we in Arapahoe County for the most part are not the socioeconomic background that you would see typically in some parts of Denver in certain counties, but Arapahoe County definitely has all facets of that socioeconomic background, and these kids are suffering. They need the Zoom time, the FaceTime learning, the screen time is so catastrophic, and I don't even think we are beginning to see the effects this is going to have on our kids in terms of just extended screen time all day long, and then the lack of being able to participate in sports, and with all the lockdowns and closures that are occurring around us, that's just such a part of their day, is just that balance, and we are depriving our youth of that balance and that healthy balance of socialization, education, exercise, group sports, team sports, all of that. And there's such little, in my opinion, possibility of exposure and an outdoor sport. I mean, when kids are out there, the chance of cross-contamination or spreading of this virus outdoors is virtually non-existent, and especially outdoors in any sort of wind, and yet we are closing all that down and creating and adding to their anxiety and it's just so unhealthy. And then from the standpoint of small businesses in our community, we cannot afford another shutdown. These small businesses can't afford it, let alone the large businesses, but the small businesses cannot go through another lockdown and survive. Our economy can't do it. And we need to figure out how to coexist and learn to coexist with this virus and do, if you have elderly parents or if you are elderly or you are medically compromised, then you need to learn how to avoid going out in public or being ultra cautious in your interactions with your elderly parents. But for the most part, 99.9% of the people are going to survive this, and we need to learn how to coexist with this virus until we all can properly get vaccinated. But in the meantime, shutting down and closing our county and our communities, the catastrophic effects are going to be enormous, and we don't even know to what extent that's going to be. And I just feel like we as a community need to be informed, and we are educated people, and we all need to learn how to coexist with this and continue to move forward and not backwards and be put in a cave and a long black winter like Joe Biden described. So we can't go back that direction. So that is my say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. I think we have a couple more people. And
Madam Chair?
Yes. Commissioner Conti?
Yes. Commissioner Conti, I'd like to ask a clarifying question if I can.
Okay. I don't know how we're going to bring people back up, but...
Well, I'm hoping that they're still on the line. But I just want to make... Okay, well, then maybe this caller can, or the ones that are still waiting in the queue, it can be for them. I just want to ask, are you aware whose decision it was to ask restaurants to, cease indoor dining and schools to shut down and so forth? Are you aware of whose decision this was?
Okay. We will go ahead and I think we have 3 additional people, and just a reminder for everyone, if you would state your name and address for the record, and 3 minutes, please.
And we have Jennifer on the line. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, so me? Is this me?
Yeah, and Jennifer, just go ahead and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Hewlin. I own Water's Edge Winery in Centennial at Arapahoe University. The address is 2101 East Arapahoe Road. And I'm calling in today as a business owner and a part of the backbone of our community here in Arapahoe County. We have been reaching out to you folks and city councils for the last 9 months to ask you for your permission to live free and to run our businesses and to stay healthy as a community. And it seems that all we're seeing from everyone in government right now in the state of Colorado, not everyone, but our local government, is the only focus is COVID-19. And I'm listening to all of these parents talk about the detriment of this shutdown for their children and their businesses and their households. But one thing that I'm not sure you guys are aware of, I know you guys are government officials, but if you've ever owned a business, you would understand that those of us that own businesses put everything we've ever earned or worked for on the line to start these businesses. And that includes my small business loan, which is attached to my house. So by you shutting down all restaurants and bars and small community stores and allowing Target and Home Depot and grocery stores to stay open, what you're doing is sticking the knife in the back of every single business owner that is part of how you guys are funded as a government.
we literally, our tax dollars and us being part of that community and the economics of our county is how you guys get funded. It's how we fund the health department. It's how we fund hospitals. It's how we fund abuse programs for children and women. And what you're doing is by not allowing and fighting back and taking a stand, is you're allowing democracy to die in our state. And this is beyond even conscionable that you guys aren't taking into consideration our health of our community as a whole and not just for a virus. I mean, viruses happen, and here's what we're all concerned about as your constituents, is if you can't stand up and represent us as a community when we ask you, when we say we don't want this, we want you to stand up for us, give us the freedom to choose, is how are you going to act next year when another flu comes around or another virus? Like, this is not a unique situation. This happens every year. So we are telling you, we are not asking anymore. We are telling you we need you to stand up and fight back like Wells County, like Larimer County. We want you to represent the people of Arapahoe County and save our houses, save our businesses, save our children. You have that responsibility. Do not let American values die. Not this year. I don't want 2020 to go down in history being the last time we saw freedom in our country. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 3 more people on the queue. Right now we've got Katie. Katie, go ahead. Last 4 digits, 0595. Go ahead.
Oh, I apologize. Hi, my name is, I live at 11 Potts Lane, and I have 3 kids, a senior in high school, and a 7th grader. I'm calling on behalf of the children. They have been so negatively affected by this whole thing. And when I speak to the doctors in my life, our pediatrician, we have a long list for my kids. They are 100% behind the idea that kids need to have their normal life. Depression, suicide, drug addictions are going way up. And I have kids that have come from health issues, and they definitely support them being in school and having their activities. This is so detrimental to their mental health, their emotional health, their academic success, that we need to make this a priority for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Dawn. Dawn, go ahead. You should be live.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, and if you just state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dawn Hollis. I live at 7152 East Hinsdale Place in Homestead. I am so thankful for all the callers who have called in. I couldn't agree with you more. I just want to speak coming from a family who has had COVID. So I have 3 kids, 3 boys, 2 of which are in the Cherry Creek High School, 1 is at West Middle School, and my oldest is in college. So I would like to just say that both sets of our parents have had COVID. Our entire family of 5 has had COVID. We've all gotten it separately. We've all been extremely careful, diligent with all the precautions we've had to take. And I just want you to hear that my kids have been out of school so much because they've had COVID, so they've been out for 2 weeks for that. Then we've been on cohorts where they're out of school for that. Then we've had fall breaks. Not sure why we needed that, but I understand we have to follow the schedule. You know, they've been out of school for so much, and they're healthy. We're all healthy. We all have lived through this. I understand that it's harder for others, but these kids, I've got tears in, falling on my computer from my kids because they are
so frustrated. The links half the time don't work. I know our teachers are doing their best. Our kids are so far behind. I have kids who are failing classes right now that are normally B students without studying very hard. So the detriment, I mean, we either have to, if you guys are not going to fight for us, then fight for our kids to go and repeat the grades that they're in right now, because they cannot keep pushing forward the way that we are. Something has to change. And you guys are our voice. I beg you to hear the voices that are on the call today, because they are also the voices of our children, and serve the way that we vote for you to serve. Fight like the other communities are fighting back, please. Thank you.
One last caller identified as Dylan. Go ahead. Last four digits of telephone number 7027.
Yes, my name is Kim Thomason. I live at 6301 South William Street in Littleton, or Centennial. And I would like to echo what everyone else has said, that our children are suffering, and our businesses are definitely suffering, and there's so many people that are hanging by a thread. So I ask that you please look into how we can be healthier with opening these businesses and these small businesses being able to be open just like the large ones are. I thought the caller earlier had a really good point about, you know, all of our King Supers, our Target, our PetSmarts, Walmart, all those are open. And why can we not have these small businesses be open? I think that's not right. And all these small businesses that support our communities, that support our kids, are not able to be open. And they're going to suffer and they're going to close. So I ask, Lord, please that you just look into how you can have these businesses be open and have them be safe with being open, because we're all adults and we're all community in this community together, and we all want to support the kids in this community, the businesses in this community, and by picking and choosing, I think that's not right. And I do think that there should be ways that these small businesses, I look around Southland right now, and all these small businesses are barely hanging on. A friend of mine owns a store over there, and she doesn't know how she's going to do it. And it really makes me sad that we don't have the wherewithal to keep these businesses open in a healthy way. And I echo, of course, everyone else's kids. I have kids too in 4th and 7th grade, and you know, it's really, really tough on them to not see their friends and not be involved in their schools. And I ask that we've got to be better than this as a community. Support each other and get through this virus. The virus has also gone through my family, and, you know, we're being careful, but we've quarantined and we've done what we can to not spread it. And that's what we should be doing as a community is, you know, if you get sick, stay home. Other than that, the businesses should be able to run. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, do we have?
Nope, that was it.
Just as a reminder, if anybody, you know, did not get a chance because of maybe technical issues or whatever to speak this morning, that commissioners at arapahoegov.com will get your comments to all of us. So thanks to everybody for joining us this morning. I'm going to move on to we approved our minutes, so I'll move on to approval of let's see, I think we adopted the agenda, so I'm going to move on to adoption of the consent agenda, please.
I move approval of the consent agenda. Bill Holman. Second, Jeff Baker.
Motion made by Commissioner Holland, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We have several general business items this morning that our first is Oil and Gas Transportation Impact Fee. Our presenter is Chuck Haskins, Engineering Service Division Manager, Engineering Services Division. And our attorney on this matter is Mr. Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. This is not a public hearing, but Mr. Hill, would you set any foundation, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This, as you mentioned, is a request of the board for consideration of the adoption of oil and gas impact fees. This is a legislative matter. It's not a public hearing. It's not quasi-judicial in that regard. But it has been noticed in accordance with law. The board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Haskins, please go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Chuck Haskins, representing Public Works and Development on the oil and gas transportation impact fee, item 8A, the general. This, as Mr. Hill indicated, this relates to a request of the board to adopt a resolution imposing impact fees on new oil and gas facilities within unincorporated Arapahoe County. And we'll get into the recommendation a little later on in the presentation. There is a PowerPoint slide that should be included in the board's packet and is available to the public listening in on our website. So I'm going to kind of follow that PowerPoint presentation, and hopefully everybody has access to that. Joining me this morning is Elliot Solsky with our consultant who prepared this study from Felsberg, Holt, and Ulevig. He's going to present a couple of the slides here related to the study itself. And Brian Weimer is also on the line, Public Works Director, and he would be available to answer any questions that I am unable to answer or perhaps the board wishes to address to him. So if we go to slide number 2, I'll give a little history of oil and gas in Arapahoe County. In 2012, we started to see an activity in oil and gas development. In 2013, we prepared an oil and gas transportation impact study. We presented that study to the board in 2016, and they chose at that time to not approve the recommendation to increase the oil and gas transportation impact fee from a $7,500 amount that was negotiated with operators a few years prior to that. Also in 2016, we adopted a study called the Eastern Plains Transportation Impact Fee Study, which imposed impact fees on new development within the rural portion of Arapahoe County, but did not affect oil and gas operations. In 2018, Asphalt County and Boulder counties adopted some oil and gas transportation impact fees, and we went back to the board and discussed revisiting this issue, and we got the okay to proceed with an updated study preparing from Felsberg, Holt, and Ulevig. I'm going to turn if we go to PowerPoint slide number 3, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Elliot, and I will return in a couple of slides. Go ahead, Elliot.
Hey, thanks. Good morning. You've seen this before, so we'll give just a quick overview of the study process.
The basic process started with three major sort of input components. An understanding of the existing Arapahoe County road network on which oil and gas traffic would travel, the trip generation and vehicle types generated by oil and gas wells and pads, and finally oil and gas activity, which is a test scenario that we developed for analytical purposes. Not a prediction of how much oil and gas activity there would be, but an analytical scenario to help us understand the impact. We ran all of that through a travel model, assigned different types of truck trips to the county roadway network based on origins and destinations for the different purposes. We looked at the types of mitigation that would be necessary for the county to kind of recoup the cost of damage to the roads. The first one, increased maintenance, which is mainly asphalt overlays, expedited reconstruction for roads in poor conditions, and multimodal safety improvements such as shoulders and road widening. Looked at the cost of those safety improvements and then developed an average cost per well and per pad to mitigate that impact. If I could skip one and go to slide number 5, and we'll get back to 4 in a second. We're a little out of order. 5 looks at the assumptions for the oil and gas activity, and the second bullet is kind of the key for this slide. It's a test scenario to measure the average impact per pad and per well. So again, it's not a prediction of how much activity there would be, but a test scenario in order for us to develop reasonable estimates of the damage per well and per pad. We divided the county into 3 different zones because the conditions of roads and the origin destinations, trip lengths, etc., are different depending on whether you're in the west or middle or eastern part of the county. We had more well density in the west zone where there's been historically more activity and more interest, less in the central zone and even less in the far east zone. If you could go to slide 6, please. The existing road conditions. So a key part of the model is to look at the existing road conditions, roads that are paved versus unpaved, rotopaved, which we'll talk about a little bit later. They have particular sort of deterioration curves. We looked at for paved roads, the pavement condition of current roads. And then, if we can go back to slide number 4, which is a little more of an overview, and this summarizes the 3 basic fee components that we developed in doing the analysis. The basic components are, number 1, the asphalt overlay. This is actually the primary cost item. It's by far the largest part of the fee, and this is based on the loads, the ESL, which is equivalent single axle load. So it's kind of the weight of the truck, and the impact caused by the well or pad. So the expedited increased maintenance required to mitigate that impact. The second, gravel maintenance. This is a big component of the far eastern part of the county where there are a lot of gravel roads, and this involves the fact that additional truck traffic causes additional frequency of grading and dust suppression treatments and graveling of gravel roads. The last component, it's a couple of different types of projects. including paving of gravel roads, shoulder improvements, widening of roads. For this one, we did not treat oil and gas specially, but rather use the existing Eastern Plains Transportation Impact Fee, which is applied to houses and retail and offices. So we used that study and just added oil and gas, kind of added to that schedule. So used that study's conclusion, which is $153.10 per daily vehicle mile of travel generated. So we eliminated from our methodology the types of improvements that are included in that fee, and that does include paving of gravel roads and shoulder improvements, those type of improvements. So so for that component, we just used the existing methodology for that transportation impact fee, and that ended up being a fairly small component of the cost. So now, and I apologize for kind of skipping around, but if you can go to slide number 7, which says study recommendation on the left side. So this was our original draft report that was prepared in August of last year, so more than a year ago, and that had what we defined as a maximum defensible fee based on all of our analysis. Just to walk you through what's in this table, again, there's the 3 different zones, the west, east, central, and far east zones, and there's different fee amounts for each of those. At the top is the per pad fee, so that's just construction of the pad, kind of independent of how many wells you've got. So that's a fairly moderate fee per pad, and then depending on how many wells, there would be another fee per well, and that's all the roads, 7 or 8 rows down to the bottom. They differ in that for if you have different types of pipelines, that reduces some of the trips. So we looked at the first scenario is the maximum. If you had no pipelines, then and you look at the west number, it's $61,960 per well. And then going down, there are different combinations of if you have a fresh water pipeline rather than trucking water in, that reduces the fee. If you have a produced water disposal pipeline, that further decreases the fee. And finally, if product is shipped out, it is pumped out through pipelines rather than trucks. And then you get all the way to the bottom, and the smallest fee is if you have all 3 of those type pipelines for fresh water in, disposed water out, and product, then the fee is for the west $5,000, so less than 1/10 of what it would be without any pipelines. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it back to Chuck to talk about some comparative other scenarios.
Thank you, Elliot. I'd like to stick that slide just for a moment, and again, that's slide 7, entitled Study Recommendation. When we got here last August, we were a little surprised at the amount of these fees, and especially related to some of the other jurisdictions that our operators actually have oil and gas interest in, that being Adams County and the city of Aurora. So those, when we went to benchmark those fees, the city of Aurora is approximately $40,000 per well, and if I could bring your attention to the $61,960 $60 fee that's in the west zone without pipelines. So that's kind of what we compared the city of Aurora and Adams County to. And in Adams County, and I don't want to slip too far into the presentation, but your last slide actually, slide number 13, actually, maybe it's 12, forgive me, it's 12, is what Adams County. So in their west zone without any pipelines, they're about $36,523 per well. So that's kind of what we benchmarked our fee towards. And I'm going to go back to that study recommendation just for a moment. We also conducted some outreach to our stakeholders. We met with them very early on in the study before we actually produced the travel model that Elliot referred to. We met with them after the study draft was completed, and I think we, and also a lot of their comments are attached to your board report as well. And those, some of those came in early on in the process, and some of those are more recent from this summer. But we did reach out to industry. Last time we met with them was June 4th of this year, just prior to us trying to schedule this project for hearing. So we can go to the next slide. Again, when we were concerned about that amount, staff started looking at these fees a little more closely, and we determined that one of the components of the fee that were really driving the cost up was these road-to-paved roads. Road-to-pave is a treatment that our road and bridge folks have applied to our rural gravel roads in the eastern area very successfully, and it keeps their maintenance down, their gravel maintenance down, and you know, a lot of our residents really think those are paved roads. They're not normal asphalt or hot mix asphalt that we traditionally apply to roadways, but they worked pretty well until you get significant truck loading. And so that component, those road-to-paved roads were really driving up the cost. And if we can contrast for a moment, in most of those road-to-paved roads are in the east central area. So if you can contrast for a moment the $51,663 fee with no pipelines in the east central zone with the previous slide, it was $176,345. So really, is a big item in the east central zone, and that kind of looked at that as perhaps an existing system deficiency. And so we wanted to address that, and by addressing that, that kind of got us closer to the Adams County fee and closer to the city of Aurora. So we really feel that this road-to-paved roads treated as normal asphalt on the, I guess it's slide number 8 for horizontal wells is kind of what staff would like to move ahead with as a base fee. And we'll talk about maybe reductions to that here in a moment. But we think this is a fair representation of the impact that we're getting from oil and gas development on rural roads. again, we met with the board on numerous occasions throughout the last year and and this summer and this fall, and we sensed that the board was still a little uncomfortable with the amounts of the fees. So staff looked at other options to perhaps bring those fees down, including, eliminating the shoulders that Elliot referred to. Also looked at eliminating the gravel maintenance component that he also referred to earlier in the presentation. We looked at maybe eliminating both of those. And the fee certainly went down, but it really didn't go down too much in the western zone with no pipelines where we're seeing most of the activity. So staff feels like, again, that this road-to-paved roads treated as normal asphalt is a good starting point for a transportation impact fee. A couple of other things that, we didn't review with the board throughout the study life is other types of wells. There is vertical wells, there are refracking wells, and there are other energy uses that we did talk extensively to the board about, those being maybe wind energy uses, solar farms, and maybe biosolids applications in the eastern area of the county. So we did through our study address those types of uses as well, and those types of wells, and we applied in the calculated fee, we applied the same reduction to those fees as we did in the horizontal wells, treating those road-to-paved roads as normal asphalt. And those are kind of presented in slide, 8, 9, and 10 on the left side of the PowerPoint slide. So we wanted to make sure that we accounted for not only just horizontal wells, but we don't see them quite as often, but there are vertical wells that exist in the county, as well as perhaps the need to refrac a well, and some of these other energy uses that we discussed. So moving on, again, as I mentioned earlier, we sensed that, the fee amount was maybe still a little high for our appetite, and so staff has now proposed a 40% reduction to this base, what I'll call the base recommendation of the road-to-paved roads treated as asphalt, and that appears on the right side of slide number 8, 9, and 10, and 11, I think, as well. Yes. So all of those different uses we've applied the same methodology, and what staff's thought process is we would use the base fee, recommend a 40% reduction to the base fee in all of those zones, in all of those different pipeline scenarios, to all of the wells, the horizontal wells, the vertical wells, the refract wells, as well, no pun intended, the other energy uses. So the other energy uses, if we could just skip down to slide number 11, I believe it is, that was based on the study. We didn't do a separate study for other energy uses, but how Elliot outlined how we generated those easel, basically the cost per easel, the equivalent single axle load. We applied those to these other energy uses, which again could be solar, could be wind or biosolid types of projects, and it would only be, I really want to make this clear, for new projects in the county. We do not have the ability to go back retroactively and impose those fees. So we based those fees, and if you look at in the west zone, that's $4.43 per easel. That's the cost per easel, and then when those uses came forward to us, we would work with the applicants to generate traffic studies to determine what types of trucks and how many trucks they would use. And so there's an opportunity to assess that fee to those uses as well. And you can see on the right side where we've applied that 443, we've applied the 40% reduction to that to be $2.66. We want to be completely open about this. We never reached out to, in our outreach, we never reached out to solar interest and wind interest and anything like that. So if that's something the board would like us to do before we impose a fee to these other energy uses, staff is certainly willing to do so, and our legal staff feel comfortable including this fee in the oil and gas fee resolution. So Bob Hill has prepared a separate resolution for that, and that is also included in your packets. So I guess I just wanted to say that, you know, we think this reduction makes some sense for the current economical conditions, and also the magnitude of the fee relative to the $7,500 that we are currently assessing these. So again, just to try to make sure that we're comparing these, that would be the west zone for horizontal wells with no pipelines would be the $21,501 per well. So with that, I will conclude my presentation, open it up for questions. There is a draft motion in your packet as well. And I don't know, Brian, do you have any additional comments you would like to make before we turn it back to the board?
Thanks, Jess. This is Brian Weimer, Public Works Director. I think that you covered pretty much what we've talked about. A couple of things that I would point out. First is we did not reduce the per pad fees, feeling that those should not be reduced accordingly, and only adjusted the well fees. So the per pad fees stay the same. In addition, the resolution talks about bringing back to the board on an annual basis for consideration of moving from the 60% of the fee amount, the 40% reduction, to the base fee over a period of time. It would certainly be within the Board of County Commissioners' purview as that's brought back annually. So just wanted to make those couple of clarifications. So thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Holland.
Go ahead, Commissioner Holland.
Thank you. Brian, I don't know if you have this information in hand, but how many productive wells, producing wells, do we have currently in Arapahoe County? And are there any explorational wells in process?
I don't have the exact numbers. I do have an updated map that I can provide to the commissioners if they're interested in that. I just received that the end of last week, but I did not do an actual count on that. So if that's something of interest, I can certainly provide that.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
Just based on Commissioner Holland's question, I want to make sure if these were approved today, these rules would only be for new paths and wells, correct, Brian?
That is correct. We would not retroactively assess those. We don't have the ability or legal authority to do that. It would be associated with any type of new well that would be coming into the county once this would be adopted.
Thank you.
And, if I may.
Commissioner Baker, go ahead. I'm not sure, but Commissioner Baker, you want to go ahead and finish your question?
Yes. Let me go ahead and wait until the other comment.
Okay, was there a comment?
This is Bob Hill. I just wanted to add on to what Brian had said about this applying only to new oil and gas facilities, and it would be charged at the time of the application for a new facility when it's coming in for administrative USR or fee. The other point I wanted to just clarify is that I have not had a chance to prepare a resolution for other energy uses, so that resolution is not in your packet for that, but the proposed resolution that is in the packet does direct staff to come back to the board with recommendations for not oil and gas, but impact fees for other energy uses.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Baker again.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
All right, thank you, Bob. You kind of reminded me, and I guess this question would be more for either Bob, Brian, or Chuck. A lot of the rules and regulations that we've been looking at over the last year, having to do with oil and gas, signs, various and sundry other billboards, different rules that we've put in place. And I think part of the reluctance of the commissioners to just approve what was put before us initially and wanting to work through a lot of the details was an important one. And I just want to make sure that this resolution, I'm not sure, does it have a clause that would allow exceptions to be made?
No, it does not provide for the exception. Basically what it does is it approves it's identified as what Chuck identified as sort of the base level of fees, and then it applies a 40% reduction to that amount. And it gives the board the opportunity to increase that or adjust those fees, but that would be applied, within the fee service area wide. So there wouldn't be particular instances where you could say, well, the fee for this particular well application may be should be more or less based on some particular circumstance of the well. The entire way the study was focused was to come out with sort of an average cost of the impacts of oil and gas generally to the county road system, and that it didn't look at particularly well.
Thank you, Bob. But I did hear when I said exception, I realized I should have said modification. And your answer did include modifications for adjustment up or down.
There is process and it would take a board resolution to adjust those fees. And there's an upper limit on that adjustment as what Chuck identified as the base fee amount.
Correct. Because based on the results of the study, I understand that. Thank you very much. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions from board members? Madam Chair? Yeah, please go ahead, Nancy Jackson.
Yeah, just a quick question similar to Jeff's, but in a different direction. Should this be approved, it doesn't preclude revisiting this fee from time to time as the board sees fit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. I'm just thinking because it is at that 40%, at some point we might want to make these fees, we might want to change the fee. Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Madam Chair, this is Brian.
Go ahead, Brian.
I just did a quick count to address Commissioner Holan's question about producing wells in the county, and this is just unincorporated that I looked at, and roughly 65. I may have missed some as part of my quick count, but that was the number that we had on our most recent map that I'll provide to the commissioners.
Thank you, Brian. Any other questions? Or Chuck or Brian or Bob? Okay, hearing none, this isn't a public hearing, but I think there may be some people who would like to make a public comment. So, Chris?
Yes, Commissioner, we have one person. This is Ashley. And Ashley, go ahead, you're on.
3 minutes, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. My name is Ashley Campbell, and I'm the Government Affairs Advisor for Creston Peak Resources, 1801 California Street, Denver. Creston became the largest oil and gas operator in Arapahoe County in March with the closing of an acquisition from ConocoPhillips. Creston is excited to have the opportunity to responsibly develop the natural resources that exist within your county's borders. We at Creston count environmental stewardship, innovation, community partnership as some of our core company values. Creston has already demonstrated this commitment by our removal of the controversial Swan location in our future plans. Much like with Swan, we intend to consolidate operations across the county, which will result in a net decrease of environmental impacts, notably truck traffic. Creston would like to thank the commissioners and staff for their collaborative approach in developing this traffic impact fee. Creston has been a stakeholder in this process since last November, and we are grateful that some of our concerns were considered in the updated and amended version today. While we are increasingly concerned about additional fees to our industry, we feel that this fee is a reasonable compromise. We ask that you also keep in mind that as a taxpayer in the county, Creston paid ad valorem taxes to Arapahoe County totaling nearly $9.8 million in 2020 for the 2019 assessment. Of that total, Arapahoe County itself retained nearly $1.3 million, and the remaining $8.5 million went to local school districts, first responders, and the library district. The amount Creston remitted to the county is significantly different than the amount outlined in the memo Mr. Weaver prepared for this hearing. Creston welcomes the opportunity to clarify this issue with the county going forward. We firmly believe in paying for our impacts to roads, and we feel the reduced impact fee proposed today, coupled with our taxes paid, exceeds any road damage caused or county services burdened by our development projects within Arapahoe County. We also understand, based on a recent study session, that the county will require a road maintenance agreement in the future, and that the RMA will only be in place for catastrophic events, not for repairs needed for normal use. Please note, we never anticipate any catastrophic event, but understand the county's position on this issue. The existing agreement between Conoco and the county was a voluntary payment of $7,500 per well and an agreement to fix potential road damage related to development. The codification of a traffic impact fee replaces this agreement going forward. Crestone respectfully requests that the county provide a quarterly update of the project our collected TIP will supplement as outlined by state statute. Understanding our road usage will be along the same thoroughfares for future development. Crestone would like to understand where any leftover funds will be utilized after damages are repaired, and we hope that the county will be transparent in this process. We thank you for your time and attention today. Crestone looks forward to building on our working relationship and demonstrating our commitment to operating responsibly and in a manner that is protective of public health, safety, welfare, and the environment. Thank you again for your continued partnership.
Thank you, and thanks for being with us today. I think those are really good suggestions about reporting and follow-up. So we'll make sure that we have a chance to talk about that and with the board. But it sounds to me, at least to me, like it's a good follow-up. So, Chris, do we have another caller?
Yes, we do. This is Chris, and Chris, you are live. Chris McGowan. Yep.
Thanks. Good morning, Commissioner. My name is Chris McGowan, and I'm an Associate Director for the American Petroleum Institute, Colorado. API Colorado is a division of the American Petroleum Institute, which represents all facets of the natural gas and oil industry. Our more than 600 members produce, process, and distribute most of the nation's energy. In our first 100 years, API has developed more than 700 standards to enhance operational and environmental safety, efficiency, and sustainability. API Colorado is committed to ensuring a strong, viable, and industry capable of meeting the energy needs of the state in a safe and environmentally responsible manner. I'm here today to express our general support for the proposed amended traffic impact fee. We would also like to thank the county staff for their work in addressing some of our concerns and ultimately working with our local members to find a compromise that addresses the needs of all parties. API and its member companies have always in the past worked very hard to build relationships and partner with communities up and down the Front Range. Our goal has and will always be to work with communities to find ways to address their concerns surrounding oil and gas development while continuing to allow this state's largest industry to thrive. With that being said, we would like to reemphasize our strong belief that the county doesn't have the authority to impose a traffic impact fee in addition to requiring operators to sign a road maintenance agreement that would require them to fix specific incidents of damage. As noted in the resolution, state statute places certain limitations on the county's authority regarding the imposition of traffic impact fees, and one of those limitations is requiring duplicative funding mechanisms for the maintenance of the same roads or projects. However, it is our understanding, based on conversations with county staff and the members of this board, that the imposition of an RMA is going to be strictly limited to those instances that are catastrophic in nature. We do very much support that approach and would strongly encourage the county to reaffirm its position here today. We believe this path forward strikes the appropriate balance between ensuring a thriving economy in Arapahoe County while providing extensive benefits to the citizens. Again, we appreciate the hard work of our members and the county to find a solution that results in a very positive outcome for all involved parties, and we really look forward to a strong and positive relationship going forward. Thank you, and please have a great morning.
Thank you.
Yes, we have one more. We have Ryan Seastrom. Ryan, you're live.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Good morning, commissioners and staff. My name is Ryan Seastrom, and I'm the Regulatory Affairs Manager with the Colorado Oil and Gas Association, located at 1800 Glenarm Place in Denver. I hope you all have been staying healthy and well. COGA appreciates the opportunity to provide further comment on the county's proposed traffic impact fee today. COGA sincerely appreciates the opportunity to engage with Arapahoe County staff during the stakeholder process and for the ability to provide feedback to the county throughout this process over the past 2 years. As COGA has mentioned in previous comment submissions, industry is agreeable to paying for its equitable share of impact to the roads that it uses for its operations. COGA understands the desire and the need for the county to have well-maintained roads so they not only benefit the residents but also those who visit and do business within the county. COGA requests that any fee administered to its operators be specific to the impacts realized and equitable to all of the other users of the road network in the county. By administering a fee in this fashion, Arapahoe County can ensure a balance between the county's roads being properly maintained and the county's practices remain friendly to commerce and business. Regarding the traffic impact fee again today, COVID does support staff's proposal on the fee schedule with roto-paved roads treated as asphalt and with a 40% reduction. COGA again appreciates the opportunity to provide comment on this process, and please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions you might have. I hope you all have a wonderful
No more callers, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for those comments this morning. And I do want to compliment our staff, and I think it has been a collaborative process, and I appreciate the tremendous effort that our staff has done to reach out to industry and take industry by the same token to come back with good feedback and honest comments to us to help us to try and work to a solution in our county to this issue. So, any other questions for our staff from commissioners?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any questions per se, but I did want to just say, I know this hasn't been easy. I remember back when the MOU was being formed, and I wasn't a commissioner at that time, but I was an employee and a citizen of Arapahoe County, and I was monitoring those negotiations, and it was a very lengthy process that was gone through, and I know Commissioner Sharp and Commissioner Jackson, you were on the board at the time. I'm not sure about Commissioner Hohen, but you probably recall how difficult that was to reach a consensus or agreement. And this was not quite as a long duration, but I think the back and forth, the give and take, the pros and cons were weighed, and I want to also give kudos to our staff for all the process. I know it's been difficult. A lot of work has gone into this, so I want to say thank you. I want to give special kudos to Diane Kosis, our oil and gas, our energy specialist on staff. I know that she's gone through quite a bit during these and has kept lines of communication open. I do thank our industry representatives for keeping in close contact with me, and I believe the other commissioners as well, and for the citizens who are very interested in watching what the county does for this. Is a way of making sure that their taxes are not overwhelmingly large, and that they're going towards the intended purposes and things like that. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, and I will be supporting this. And I'd be happy to make the resolution if there are no other commissioner comments, or make the motion if there are no other commissioner comments.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner
Go ahead,
Poland.
Commissioner Poland.
Thank you. I just echo the comments of my colleagues, and I think that what this compromise is reflective of is not only a concern for maintaining our road infrastructure and addressing some of the needs and concerns that our citizens has, but also a collaborative effort with our oil and gas industry, the state regulators as well. And the important thing is that this process has been one of open and transparency as best we can. The tremendous amount of effort put in by the staff in terms of their studies and consultants that weighed in, as well as the material provided by by the API and other industry organizations that have added their expertise to help us reach a credible and fair decision. I certainly support this motion.
Thank you. This is Nancy Sharp. I just wanted to add one other thing. I agree that there was a lot of time spent trying to come up with a solution that reflects the impact to Arapahoe County roads. For me, the oil and gas industry, as well as solar and wind, are extremely important sources of energy and industries, not only in our county, but in the state of Colorado and in our country. So I'm really glad that we were able to work through this and also to take into account our current economic conditions and work into this, that it can be reevaluated in the future. But I think what we were all thinking about is how we can be fair. And so I want to, thank everybody involved. If there are no other comments or questions, Commissioner Baker, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. In the matter of the request and recommendation in case number C18-025 from the Department of Public Works and Development to adopt and approve the imposition of impact fees for new oil and gas facilities. After having the request and recommendations for the impact fee schedule set forth in the board summary reports, the FHU study, and the proposed resolution contained in the record for this item, and having considered all comments received, I hereby move to approve the adoption of impact fees to be imposed on all new oil and gas facilities in the areas of unincorporated Arapahoe County, and at the amounts recommended in the FHU study, with roto-paved roads treated as asphalt and the fee amounts reduced by 40% as provided in the proposed resolution.
This is Commissioner Conti, and I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Conti. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention?
This is Nancy Jackson. Madam Chair, this is Nancy Jackson. I'm going to oppose. Yeah, I'm going to oppose. I can live with it, but I just want to be on the record for saying that we did do a study, and I think I would have supported the exemption for roto-paved, but the 40% seemed rather arbitrary to me, and so I'm going to oppose. I think that development should pay its way, and as important as industry is to Arapahoe County's economy, and I do believe that, I think that we need to set a precedent of development paying its way. So I'm going to respectfully vote against this.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. So why don't we just make sure we do a roll call if we could, Jolene, and since we just make sure we have this all on the record.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Commissioner Conti?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
No.
The motion passes 4-1. Commissioner Jackson opposed.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, everybody. And we're going to move on to our Second general business item today, building division fee update. Our presenter is Brian Weimer, Director of Public Works and Development, and our attorney on this matter is Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. It is not a public hearing, but Mr. Hill, would you set any foundation, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Unlike the last agenda item, this is another legislative request of the board relative to the amount of fees and fee schedule for building code, under the building code for building permits. The board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you.
It has been noticed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weimer, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the board. Thank you for having us today with regard to this issue. I included in your backup package and also for the public a slideshow. So there's a PowerPoint available, and I'll reference that as we go through the hearing. So if you would, go to slide number 2. I'll hit on what our recommendation is up front, and then I'll go into some detail behind that. So our recommendation is to have a increase in our building permit fees that would go into effect as of January 1st, 2021. And we're also asking for a reinspection fee increase from $75 per hour to $125 per inspection. This general business item is a follow-up from a commissioner's study session held on October 27th, in which staff was directed to bring this forward for consideration by the board for adoption. Moving on to slide number 3. The October 27th study session outlined reasons for the recommended fee, those being the last time that this was looked at was 23 years ago in 1997, and that's the fee schedule that's currently being used. The fees that we currently have not kept pace with inflation and increased costs. Building fees are significantly lower in Arapahoe County than neighboring jurisdictions. We've done some benchmarking associated with that, and I will provide that information in some of the following slides. If you go to slide number 4, continuing on with why we were looking at this, the recommended fee increase would result in a revenue more closely matching what our costs are to provide the services within the development-related areas within Public Works, that being Building Division, the Planning Division, and the Engineering Services Division. And then the recommended fee that we're looking at for $125 for a reinspection would align with the average cost of completing re-inspections, whereas the current 75-hour does not. It's also a little more difficult to implement and handle with $75 per hour. So we feel that is more reflective of what we need to be looking at in terms of that service. If you go to slide number 5, workload. We did talk about workload and the land development services, and that has remained high over the past several years. The following slide, I'll show what that looks like in a graph. Even with the pandemic, we've really continued to provide strong levels of service, and our workload in the building division is outpacing our 2019 levels. And even in some cases, the high mark that we had in 2018. The building division revenue is expected to exceed projections for the year in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $750,000 is what we're projecting through the end of the year. And all this continued level of development is projected to go into 2021 and beyond. Our discussions with some of the industry has indicated that they have contracts that are out to 18 months that they're booked actually providing building services. The next slide, slide number 6, is a graphical representation of this, and staff within the building division are very committed. You can see with the high workloads that we do have, they are vitally concerned with the life safety of our citizens, customer service, and actually educating on the applicable codes. In fact, I get many calls appreciating the help and solutions that division employees are providing them, and they do appreciate that. One other example of kind of the workload issues that we're dealing with really deals with vacation time. And as you know, we've been trying to push employees to take vacation. And I had a report that I looked at within our department, and within the building division, 19% of the department's rollover that would be in exceeding the 144 hours of carryover was coming from this division, from the building division. But it only represents 16% of the employees. They just don't feel like they can take the time off, leaving their customers' expectations not being met, as well as their peers having to cover. So you can see that we really are continuing to provide a high level of service with a minimal number of staff. My major concern with that, though, is prolonged workload, is employee burnout and losing good people, as well as the level of service decreasing. So you can see that we're really producing a lot of effort, and if you look at the inspections workload on that side, we're upwards, and this was in October, we're upwards to 38,000 inspections, where in 2019 we were at 34,000. If you would go to slide number 6. So if you look at those 3 divisions that I talked about, that being planning, building, and engineering services, this represents the fees that, or the revenue that we anticipated, that being in the blue, and our costs. So we're at $4.26 million in revenue, and our costs are at $6.55 million. With that, then, I think there's a shifting to think about LDS revenue for 2022 includes the building budget of $3.68 million. The $4.26 includes that over $500,000 of additional revenue that we've identified. We've actually had, in the last 2 months, some of our highest payments by day for the entire year. In October, we had a $112,000 payment day, and in November, just last week, had $85,000 in payments of fees. So we're anticipating exceeding our revenue, as I said before. If you would go to slide number 8, that identifies kind of where we are with our costs versus our revenues. And discussions that we've had with the board in the past is that they would like us to be in the 70 to 75% range of our collecting of revenue versus costs. And projected for 2020, and this has continued to look like it would go on this trend, would be 65%. So below what was identified by the board of what our target is. Even with that higher than expected projections in revenue, we still have that lower cost and our lower percentage that we're looking at. So this trend is not going to cover our costs, and it's projected to occur in 2021. I believe now is the time to address this issue, particularly in the time of high workload. The next slide, slide number 8, or number 9, excuse me, is we did some comparison, some benchmarking. And it's difficult to do that from the standpoint that all the different jurisdictions charge fees in a different way. So what we did is we looked at a development, 67 acres in size, covering 333 family homes, single-family homes, and a valuation of average of $300,000. And what it would take to go from barren land to fully developed and accepted. So that's going through the Planning, Engineering, and Building Services Division. And associated with that, we wanted to normalize kind of what others are looking at. So with the next slide, slide number 10, is an example of overall within the LDS group, within Public Works, the cost to do that was about $3,100, and then you can see what the other jurisdictions that we did a comparison across those jurisdictions. So as you can see, we're lower than our competitors, and this analysis looked at components that go into development and this overall cost. Slide number 11 is just looking at the same concept, right? The 67 acres, the 333 single-family homes, and the valuation of $300,000 on the building permits, but it looks at what the building permit component of that is. And the building permits, you can see that we're on the low side of all the other communities that we've looked at. One comment that we did receive as part of the outreach was associated with why did we not compare the city and county in Denver. And that is true, we did compare them, but we also felt like the city and county of Denver is different than Arapahoe County from land use topology and the urban character that they have. The other jurisdictions that we actually compared with are more suburban in nature and have that expanding or ability to grow further where Denver is limited. So that's why we felt it was more appropriate to look at those communities. Permit fee recommendations, as I've stated, we're recommending a 50% increase. It's based on the length of time since these fees were last updated, the comparison data that I just showed you with our neighboring jurisdiction, and the percent of revenue covering those costs. Obviously, things have changed in 23 years since this was looked at. And I will note that some of the communities are still on 1997 UBC schedule, but they also have supplemented with building fees, other types of fees, and use taxes where we have not. We have made adjustments, as most of you on the board remember, with adjusting our valuation model and our plan review and contractor licensing, which occurred in 2018. But again, those building fees have not been adjusted since 1997. As I stated before, we just have not kept pace with inflation, increased costs of our operations over those 23 years. So PWD is recommending this based on the length of time, the comparison data, and again, the percent of revenue covering cost. We are recommending this 50% increase be implemented as part of this. And the feedback references that I included in this slide shows that the feedback that we received was prior to the public notices, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but in overall general, there was an overall positive perspective or positive support as we proposed this permit increase. So the updated permit fee would look as follows. You can see that with this slide, number 13, Arapahoe County would move ahead of Adams County, but be well below the other jurisdictions that we did comparison. I will note that data and research has shown that increasing permit fees does not have a negative impact on the volume of building development in a particular area. As the primary reason in the building areas are based on other factors than permitting costs. And for the industry, time is their concern. If we can turn around things quicker, if we can get things out the door faster, and we can catch them on problems on paper, it's a lot more cost effective than dealing with it in the field. So that's our perspective of the increase. If you would go to slide 14, that talks about our reinspection fees, and as I mentioned, we're talking about that going from $75 an hour to $125 per inspection. That covers our actual cost of sending inspectors to sites for reinspections. And really what we're hoping for is that we don't even have to use reinspections, that this would result in less reinspections over time, as the customers will ensure that the work is proper and completed prior to calling out for a inspection or a reinspection. So that's our hope with the reinspection fees. So we did not even include that in any of our revenue projections that you'll see on the next slide. That being slide 15. If supported by the board, we are projecting that in 2021, we would generate an additional $1.26 million, as you can see on the graph. If approved, this fee would bring us closer to that 75% level, and actually pretty close. It would be at 75% for our LDS services, which is the goal of the county commissioners currently. And I believe that is the range that you kind of wanted us to be at. We certainly can revisit that next year if that's something the board has a desire to do so. But that's the information that we have and the projections that we're making at this point in time. As Bob indicated, we did notice this in the newspaper, and we also sent a survey out to 2,500 customers. We received 21 responses back, 11 supported, 4 were neutral, and 6 were non-supportive. Comments that we received were that the fee increase seems to be fair and compared to others, that there was a general theme, time is money, and turnaround review times are critical. And for the 6 non-supporters, they felt like our fees were already high and would encourage those to not pull a permit and skip getting permits. I will note of the 2,100 or 2,500 surveys that were specifically sent out to our contact list, the negative feedback represents 0.25% of those sent. We also sent it to the HBA, large home builders, Denver South EDP, Aurora Chamber directly, and I did get a feedback from Denver South Economic Development Partnership. They felt like this was a reasonable approach, and that time was money and a quicker turnaround being needed was a positive. Joe also reached out directly to the HBA for discussions with them as well. And Joe is on the phone, and Becky Doan is on the phone as well, that can provide input and answer questions as necessary. So one of the things, and this is, while not part of this action today, I think it's important for us to note to address the concerns about workload and levels of service that turn around that I just briefly talked about. We have requested 2 FTEs for the building division for 2021's budget, and that would certainly be subject to approval of this proposed fee increase. In addition, this fee increase would tie directly to those additional resources as been identified as a concern, and it would show that they're getting something for what they're paying. As I mentioned, it's not really part of this approval, but I thought it was important for us to mention that. The Executive Budget Committee has made a positive recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for including it in the 2021 budget, and obviously the board will have that consideration in a future hearing, that they are going to be looking at the budget in December 8th of this year for adoption of the 21 budget. If the new fee or new positions and fee are approved, where we would stand in terms of our cost versus our revenue would be right at 21 or 72% for 2021. So I think that puts us within that range that you would like to see of 70 to 75%. So with that, I know I went through that fairly quickly, but I was trying to get you back on schedule. I do want to thank you for your time and consideration. I'd like to thank our customers for the feedback that they provided and their support of our recommendation to increase these fees. And myself, Joe, and Becky are available for any questions or comments that you may have associated with this request.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I'll make a comment. This is Nancy Jackson.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
I just want to chime in with some of the comments that were made earlier vis-a-vis the oil and gas, and that is the thoroughness of your research and the hard work that your department has put into this. It's like better late than never kind of thing, reviewing these fees. How long has it been since we looked at these fees, and here we are today, kind of doing what we probably should have done quite a long time ago. So I really appreciate Public Works and your thoroughness and anticipating our questions, which is one of the reasons why I don't have any questions, because I think you did a good job of anticipating what we'd ask. So I think this is great, and I'm planning on supporting it, if not making the motion. So thank you.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Holland.
Go ahead, Commissioner Holland.
Yeah, I just want to echo the words of Commissioner Jackson, and that is we've had a very it's been a long time since we've really even looked at the fees, and with the increases and hard work of the staff over at the planning department and throughout Public Works, I just want to acknowledge that they've worked very hard to meet the challenges of our growing construction projects going on in the county, and I just want to personally thank them and thank the director for his hard work and leadership in bringing this proposal forward. I think it's only fair that those who are seeking economic opportunities within our county pay their fair share in the costs of that the county has to incur in meeting those rapidly increasing challenges. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I think we all agree. Great job here, very thorough and paying attention to the fees that anything that needs to be adjusted and reviewed periodically. And this happens to be one of them, and maybe more periodically 23 years ago. So thank you very much. If there are no other comments or questions, Commissioner Jackson, would you like to make a motion?
I would be happy to. This is one of the proposals that gets us back into development paying its fair share. Sorry to be a broken record. So, in the matter of the request from the Department of Public Works and Development Building Division to amend and adopt a new fee schedule for building permit, plan review, inspection, and reinspection fees, as set forth in the proposed resolution and board summary report, I move to approve the Building Division request and adopt the proposed fee schedule as set forth therein.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson. Do we have a second? Sorry, who seconded?
This is Commissioner Conti, and I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Conti. Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Conti. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And thanks again to everybody. Great job. A lot of work there. And we'll go on to commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments this morning?
Oh, I think, this is Nancy Jackson. I think we should, all of us wish everyone a very healthy and happy Thanksgiving. Even if we have to be socially distant and even alone. Let's make it a healthy Thanksgiving.
Okay, agreed. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and thanks again, and appreciate all of the time and the comments this morning from everybody. All right, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.